XAN.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm here coming to you this morning, stock trading 101, giving you a couple of insights as to what it is to uh, like to be a trader and basically start every day pretty much looking at charts. You can see here, these charts have several significant pieces to them that you have to know and understand what they're saying in order to know which stock you'll be picking. So this is a particular type of scan. This is a scan for small capitalization stocks, small cap. There are some charts on here that are for large caps, like here, and also some medium should be somewhere here. Cap. Oh, that's not. It's not. Okay, it's not on there right now. But and then here is your small cap. So capitalization, a certain dollar amount that the company uh, is the market value, basically determines whether it's a small cap or a large cap. So here you see a continuous scanner. This particular scan sound here, just basically running through. If you watch this orange looking piece, it will run down. Whatever you see that highlighted is referencing this here. So if you see here, it says JE. Notice here, it also says JE. You can see that. So as this is scrolling through, there is an audio that I don't have turned on now because it's not relevant to the particular recording right now or the particular stock trading 101. But it will constantly speak about the momentum in this particular scanner. And that's talking about small cap in particular. So this is small cap, small cap, small cap. Small cap is going down, meaning they've been trending downward as far as the market's concerned. Their dollar amount is going down starting today. This, the opposite, is actually going up. So first and foremost, if you've never traded before, there's no reason to be afraid of learning to trade. The fear is not ever trying to trade. There is demos out there. There are things that we can use, and once I get to that point and you feel, you want to step up to the next level, we can get you into a simulator. I myself started with a simulator and use a simulator. And I do have, a simulator that I just point you to once you totally understand this. So the whole purpose of this is really to pick which stock you're going to be watching in the morning. So, because there's several stock, they move every day, on the minute, on the hour. So the particular stock you want to focus on is ones that have a lot of transactions, a lot of volatility, as they call it. So volatility or volume is how you determine which stock that you want to be working with on any given day. Then the other part of that equation is something we call float. Float is the amount of shares that are available. Now, quite simply, if there's something that's in scarce supply, then it's going to be more activity. Correction. If it's in scarce supply, it's going to demand a higher price because there's not a lot available, just like any other particular commodity or thing of that nature. So when you have a small float and you have high volume activity, that's the stock that you want to focus on for any given day because you're guaranteed to have momentum. If it says it's gapping upward, which is this screen here, it may get a little blurry, but hopefully it'll come back in here. This screen here, that's going to be the gapping up. This one also gapping up, but this is your large cap, and this is your small cap. So once you're in this particular box, again, this is a particular scanner. There are several out there. This particular one is the one I use because I'm comfortable with it. Trade ideas. So basically, I look into this box and I look and see which stocks for the particular stock that I want. So I've set a criteria as to which stock of all those stocks I would be more interested in. Those criteria for me and for you that I'm teaching you is you want the volume, which is this column here, volume. You want the volume to be at least 1 million or more in volume. So if you take a look in this column, the first thing you'll be looking for is ones that qualify for that. So it'll say 2M, 2M, 4M, 14M, 14M. So that's the first criteria I use. Now keep in mind, I haven't talked about the particular company or what they do. This is strictly based on the technicals as we select the stock. It is not necessary that you know everything about the stock from the perspective of trading. Now, again, we're not talking about investing, which in that case, you might want to know a little bit more about the stock. This is simply technical analysis for the purpose of trading on a day-to-day basis. That's what this is about, trading. Trading is in and out. Investing is in holding for long term for greater value appreciation. And within trading, there are subsections within trading. There's scalp trading, which is a quick in and out. It could be seconds, could be minutes. There is day trading, which can last up to a whole day. There is swing trading, which can last overnight, or over several days, or even over several weeks. And then there is just trading in general. But at the end of the day, the trading is very different in that you actually want to get rid of your positions and move out of your positions by the end of the day, unless you are swing trading, in which case you're holding it for longer than the day. But so we have the volume. So the volume column is here. Now we're looking for, like I said before, the float. The float is basically what it is as far as the number of shares that are accessible or available. And we want that particular criteria to be set at no more than 3 million shares. That will ensure a certain level of activity. Now, again, I set the strategy and I set my criteria. Everyone else could have another criteria, but as I'm teaching you, the criteria I set will pretty much ensure that we have good activity and we have the right amount of a gap. So this column here is the flow column. The second column here, the first one is volume, I explained to you. You want that to be at least $1 million. This is the float column. This is the second column. You want this to be 10 million or less. So within this whole scanner, these two columns are probably the most important columns, right? So first and foremost, we look at the value, which is, I said, at least 1 million. And now we're looking at the float. We're looking for that column to also be 3 million, 10 million or less. So I look down and I see here we have 4M, right? We have 8M, and that's it. So of the two columns I looked at, and of all the particular stock that you can choose from, two of them, that would be SUNW, fits the criteria. No, I take that back. POLA fits the criteria. It has at least a volume of 4.15 million and a float of 4.76 million. So that fits the criteria. As you notice, it's in a magenta color. This scanner is sort of designed to pick out the criteria that I set. You can set your own criteria. When you have this particular software or you have it on your screen, you can go in to create ideas and say, I want this amount of gap, this amount of float, this amount of value. So this one qualifies. It has 4 million, 4.17 million, and 4.76 million value in the float. So I will take that one as one I would watch. The next one down that fits the criteria is SPI. SPI did a tremendous run yesterday, and again, we're looking back now, and we're going to see what happened. Right here you have 2.19 million for SPI on the volume, and then we have 8.40 million for the float, another criteria that meets the criteria. Now, going back up, Sun Valley, I initially said in an error when I was looking at it. Here's the thing. Sun Valley W has 15 million in value, which qualifies as to what we mentioned, that criteria for value, and that's okay. The problem is the float is above 10 million. Now, mind you, the reason why it's kind of close to the magenta colors, just a little off, because it's at 16.54 million, which is only a little bit above the 10 million. So technically, we can take a look at that again. The whole purpose of this is picking out of all the stock, which stock you're going to follow, because it's hard to follow every stock. No one can do that. Well, technically, unless you have more traders, which is why I implore you guys to learn to trade and to go to my Facebook page, Fat Cat Capital, where you see my daily trades every day. I want you to join my community, and maybe we can get you on board and you can join my team. So, again, to repeat, the volume and the float are the two most important criteria right here. And last but not least, those two allow you to pick, at least initially, your small cap stock. Now, with that being said, this strategy that I employed was scalable, meaning I could take it and apply it to the larger cap stock by adding a 0 or 2, because they're about a 0 or 2 off. What I mean by that, if I was thinking a million, then I'm thinking 10 million. If I'm saying 10 million, then I'm saying 100 million. So with that being said, I would slide over here and I want to look for something with a float of no more than 100 million and a volume at least 10 million. Just taking the 0 and adding it. So we go to the same over here. We look over here and we look for something. Now, mind you, in that particular case, it's a lot harder to really use, defiantly that strategy to large cap, because they move at a slower pace. However, when you talk about large cap stock, they are of a better quality. So if you don't have it moving as fast, you can be consistent in a day trade, knowing that this particular stock will probably be going on an upswing if it's a good day at the market, which you always want to be able to check the market, because I'll be talking about some of the other criteria we look at in the beginning of the day. But if I can find one right quickly, right now, there's really nothing on here that matches the criteria that we're looking for. As far as the float is concerned, we got JBL, it's at 136 million, but the volume is only 16,000. We got MEI, the volume, the float is at 36.4 million, but the volume is only 945. What that means is that, yeah, all of these are gapping going up, just like these are all gapping going up. And those two I just mentioned will move, but they'll move at such a slow pace. And in a game of trading, minutes, not hours, are the difference between winning and losing. So I could initially take a look at those, but at the same time, they're not fitting the criteria. Now, if I was to look on the other side, I'm looking at one, but it doesn't have a float mention. For what reason we don't have the float here, but that one has volume of 1.8 million, and that's SQQQ. Now, having said that, I selected two from there. I kind of looked at a couple of these here, but at the end of the day, we're looking for the bottom line, a lot of activity, and a little bit of shares that's available for the people. Now, with this particular situation, this being that it's large cap, the criteria for being a small amount, like I said, it's a large amount in the grand scheme of things. So having said that, that's how we use this one and this one, right? Now, I haven't talked to you about the way that we buy and sell, whether we're buying what they call long, which is when you're thinking that a position is, or a stock is going up in price, or buying short, in which the price is at a certain level, and we think that it's going to go down. That's called buying short. So when buying short, this particular gap is a small gap scanner going down. So these particular stocks would be when I would look at it if I was thinking about buying a stock that was going down in price, because you have to have a margin account or you have to have X amount of funds available to do it. But if you bought this at a certain price, right, with a margin account, and then the price went down, and then you bought it back, you would actually make a profit in the process. So that's a longer term, that's a longer conversation or a longer teaching for another lesson to get more in depth into that. But the last thing I'll look at on this particular scanner is here. It says breaking news. Breaking news will give you something that may have not even appeared on the scanners over here. That's how breaking it is. But in this case, POLA, it actually is showing up on this breaking news, and it also fits the criteria over there. And it just says the trading value is it's trading at a historic 5,033% historical value. It's trading really rapidly, really high. So rest assured, of all the three that I chucked over there, I can tell you that this particular one is going to be flying today, POLA. So I kind of gave you a quick rundown for what this is, right? Now, the question is, how do we determine, once again, when looking at these stocks, just another area as to what will be our criteria. Once we pick those stocks, there's usually some, what we call catalysts, some news, some earnings reports, some mergers, some stock splits. There's usually some approval by the FDA in case of some pharmaceutical. There's usually some type of catalyst that causes this extreme value. That's what we then have to check for, and we then have to look for when we go and look for news. So when we look for news, there's another place we go when we look for news. That place is a couple places. One is Finviz, FINVIZ.com. It will tell you basically on your phone. I have mine online. I'll show you what I got. And I would go there. But the only thing about Finviz, they're not going to give me the information as far as, first I'll take it and I'll explain it to you. So I would go to Finviz. I would go to Finviz.com, right? And I'm checking, and this is all happening before the bell rings at 9:30. If you're a pre-market selling and you have pre-market availability to the market, meaning you can trade before the bell opens between 7:30 and 9:30, your account allows for that, then you'll probably be up at like 7 doing the same thing. But for the most part, we're doing all of this research, getting ready for 9:30. So I went to Finviz to look for news. Other places you might check is Finviz. The thing about it is, you'll go to the news section. So I go here to the news and I select news because I want to see what the news is. And within that, there's a whole bunch of different reports that come from different sources. Bloomberg, Seeking Alpha. So within that, you can actually start reading and see what's going on. But if you were looking for a particular stock, after 9:30, this gets updated. So whatever you were checking on, it will have some updates. But let's just say we were looking at something at that time, it's different. But before that, you may be able to get some news, like we're going to look at POLA, why is it acting like with so much activity? So I plugged in, I went to the search box here. I went to the search and I put in the symbol POLA to pull this particular stock up, right? Now, if it's showing the daily chart, it will be showing normally yesterday's daily chart because it hasn't started trading yet for activity, right? And you won't see any news. So the thing about FinViz, the best time to grab FinViz is actually, after, unless you're looking at daily charts, right? And I'll speak about daily versus minute versus that, but you want to grab this at a certain point. So that's one of the sources as far as news is concerned, but within FinViz, you can actually link up and grab other news captions. So I'll go back again to the news, right? Go back to news. And at the bottom of the news section, if you look at the very top one, it says July something. So basically whatever news, there's no news like right now that we need. But between that and Seeking Alpha, which is another website that I go to and I look for news, Seeking Alpha, I was looking again for catalysts. So here I go to latest news. And again, this one will give me today's news. It will give me the most recent, what's going on now. So I got that. And again, all before 9:30. So now, just looking at that particular stock, again, I'm going to put in, because that one is really running. We're trying to find out, well, what happened? Did something happen in the news that we should know about? The name of the company is called, Polo Power. So that's the actual name of that company, PLA. So I put it in Seeking Alpha. And as you can see here, I'm looking at it, checking on it, right? It'll show me a chart. Now, I switched to the daily chart. Now, again, this is showing yesterday's activity because it hasn't started trading yet. So we're going to look at just news. We're looking at top stocks. If you go to the top of this here, you'll see a list of menus. You have top stock, latest news, things like that. You can always tap into the latest news because, again, we're looking to see, and this is where you'll see stocks in general, like what's happening with different stocks. Now, again, I'm isolating this particular stock. This information applies to any stock we're researching or any time we're getting ready to trade. But since this one is doing so much, we're looking for what's going on. So I'm looking down the news, right? Again, searching for the source. What is the source of this particular news? And what I'll do is I'll plug back in the stock symbol, like I just did earlier, and I'll be looking down. So right now, I don't see, again, the last information for this company is showing on July 29th. So again, let's see what the company does. I mean, if we wanted to get into other analysis. Now there's technical analysis and then there's fundamental analysis. The difference between the two, fundamental analysis is looking at it from an investor's perspective, whether the company has good, financial position and good financial handling, I'd like to say, because you're looking at it on a long-term basis. With technical analysis, we're looking at it for a today, what happened most recently, what happened now. That's what technical analysis is for, and that's what you use for trading. So I always want to distinguish between investing and trading. Most of what you'll hear about from most sources, different news sources, is about investing. So again, I'm still searching. I want to know what's going on. So I don't see anything here. Now, sometimes you might not find news on one platform and then you check another platform, you might find news there. So within my phone itself, you have a stock tracker. So I can go to that one there. Again, I'm still looking. That one is probably not going to give me whether the market is up or down. Say futures. That's it's not like when the stock market is open. That's different. But in the morning, this doesn't. It's going to be frozen. It's not going to give you the most reason. But I'll still put it in. Again, what am I doing? I'm still searching for news. I'm trying to understand why and what happened. So, okay. So here we have it. Polo Power, right? And it talks about its CEO. Now, that's not news enough to necessarily trade, but let's read and we'll see what it is. It says Polo Power Inc. overplaying its CEO question mark. So I go in, I'm looking to see. It talks about the CEO and all that good stuff. So the question is there a reason why, right, that particular stock is moving the way that it is? So anyway, that's the point of this. So we're always looking. Okay, here we go. Polo Power announces 2.8 million private placement. So we read that. Again, just searching for news. What's going on? Why is it moving the way that it's moving? And that would be this particular thing here. That's the news that's causing this mass hysteria. Polo Power announces 2.8 million private placement. Polo Power, a global provider of prime backup and solar hybrid power solutions, today announced that it has entered into a definitive agreement with certain institutional investors, which is big investors, to raise aggregate gross proceeds of its approximately 2.8 million through the private placement of its equities securities. So basically, they made an agreement to have an institution or institutions place their equities or their securities in the hands of people. Polo Power will sell an aggregate of 1.2 shares, 1.2 million shares of the company's common stock at $2.25 per share. Wow. Right now, the stock price is $4.50, and they're giving shares away to the institutional investors at $2.25. Additionally, investors will receive common stock purchase warrants to purchase up to a number of shares of the company's common stock equal to, for each share purchased by the investor, 0.5 shares of common stock. So basically, and the warrants will have an exercise price of $3.13 per share, are exercisable immediately and have a term of 5 years. We won't get into what warrants are, except that, again, it's about commodity derivatives of the particular stock. So it's a piece of paper. It's something that is used to give people discounted prices at a later date, things like that, all fancy stuff. So that is why this particular stock is moving the way that it is. Now we finally found the news. So we found it. I found it under the iPhone's scanner. So you got Seeking Alpha, you got the iPhone scanner, you got FinViz, you got NASDAQ. NASDAQ also has their own little place. And most of the stock that is really, newsworthy stock trading as far as a trader is concerned, most of them are NASDAQ, although there are ones, as we go up in quality, we move over to things like New York Stock Exchange. I trade things like Tesla, and Tesla is not New York Stock Exchange, but you can trade on any particular exchange. Is my point. AMEX, American Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, whatnot. Now, when you have this knowledge, you can scale it to apply to forex trading. Same thing, little twist, same thing. Then we start talking about options, which is a small derivative of a stock. In the case of Tesla, I have an option. So let me recap so I can wrap this one up, because this is trading 101. We don't want to go to 102 yet. When you go ahead and you start thinking about trading, the first thing you want to do is find out what's there. You got e-signals, you got plenty of people out there that do a lot of stuff. But Trade Ideas is the one that I actually use for this particular thing. Small cap, large cap again. It kind of applies, but you have to kind of bear in mind that this is a much bigger company. So once you find that particular thing, you're actually going to extrapolate based on certain criteria that I mentioned. Once you've decided based on the criteria that I mentioned, you're gonna go and find out what is the news that caused this particular stock to have such a fluctuation in such a dramatic fashion. And you do that by going to the sources that I referenced. You check for news under Finvid, you check under Seeking Alpha, you can use your iPhone stock scanner, eSignal. There's plenty of sources. Some parts of those are free, and some parts you pay for an upgraded version, which will give you more detail. So either way, you'll have the information even at a free level, but if you get the upgrade, you get more information and more detail, and that's kind of how that works. So we're talking about stocks as far as buying long, which is buying in the hopes that they're going up, or buying short, buying in the hopes that they're going down, in which case looking at the down scan. That's stocks, and then it's options. An option is a contract to buy that stock at a discounted price, like for a lesser price when it goes higher, so you're getting a discount, or at a premium price, so that if you want to apply it to a short sell, you're going to buy it at a lower price. Long and short, correction. You have two types of options. You have calls, you have puts. This is trading 101. Long and short, those options I mentioned will be for the next class, but to tell you shortly, it basically allows you to have minimum risk as far as you getting into the trading, but maximum reward if it pays off. And we'll get more into that next time. So this is what you have, Trading 101. I gave you the basics. You wake up in the morning. This is your regular routine, 5 days a week. Forex trading actually trades of the week also on Sunday, so you can get 6 days a week once you understand that. We'll be stepping up in levels, but this is not the particular trading class. So there's my day. It's regular routine. Like, follow, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I need you to like the Facebook page, Fat Cat Capital, which is our community. It's PHATKATCAPITAL on Facebook. And please like, subscribe, and share this with others. Thank you for your time. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.